Welcome to today's episode of Relationships Turned On. Today is all about a question that I get asked so often, or that's kind of buried deep in conversation. Then when we start talking about intimacy, this topic then rears its head and comes up. But it is such a vital and important topic that most couples don't think matters. It is where they sleep. Say one snores, one's restless, one likes it hot, one likes it cold, one likes all the doodles on, one likes no doodles on, all of the variations of sleep that we have as a couple. And so often over time, maybe the kids were teething and they were sleeping in the kids' room and then they just stayed there. All of these different things happen. Sometimes there's a really good reason why they happen that way, but then over time, it doesn't revert back. They stay sleeping separately. And so I want to talk to you about why this can be a challenge and what you need to do if you are in this circumstance to ensure it doesn't actually hinder or affect your relationship. Because most of the time, what I found, it is hindering and affecting the relationship. Now, let me be clear. I know there are health conditions. I know there are all sorts of things. And sometimes it has to be this way, that you have to sleep in another room because you need good quality sleep and you're a better human with it. Totally understand that. And I totally get it. If that is the case, then this episode is for you. Or if you're considering maybe it'd be better to sleep separate, I would love for you to listen to this because it's going to go through how you should make this decision, why you should make this decision, why sharing a bed's useful. And if you can't share a bed, then what you can do instead to ensure the connection stays with one another, the intimacy stays, all of those types of things. It's actually a really important topic. It is not just as simple as I sleep here and you sleep there. It is more involved because it does have implications for your relationship, for your romantic life, for your connection, for communication, for all elements of relationships. All right. First, if you're listening on YouTube, please hit subscribe. It helps me make more of these videos for free for you. And if you're on a podcast, please hit subscribe as well so you can get all of the new episodes that are coming out. There's some really juicy topics that's coming up that I'm very excited to talk on. So why should we share a bed? Let's go through all of the different scenarios. So let's say you've got health conditions and you cannot share a bed. Now, I understand that. The thing that happens with this is over time, you don't have any time relaxing in an intimate setting, not just on the couch. You don't have a little bit of conversation or a little bit of affection or the goodnight kiss sometimes. Like you miss a lot of that. And so sometimes you start out with the best intentions. And when you go to the separate rooms, before you do, you have all those things. But over time, they drop off. This is typically what I find. If they haven't dropped off for you, then awesome. But typically they do drop off for a lot of couples and they miss these points of connection. Yes, they're small, but that small connection is meaningful and they stack up, especially in our busy lives, and they are essential for your relationship. I'm going to go through the 10 reasons why sharing a bed with your partner is so important. Number one, touch is bonding. Physical affection isn't a nice to have. We are connection human beings. We get oxytocin when we give a hug to someone. We get oxytocin, which is the love and bonding hormone, when we actually physically connect. Skin to skin contact boosts oxytocin and makes you feel more connected. Even if it's just your toes touching under the sheets, it makes a difference. It also sends subconscious, like unconscious signals to the brain. My partner's there for me, like everything's good, we're safe. All of these unconscious signals are so great for our nervous system and our connection with our partner. So number two is it builds a quiet kind of intimacy. You can't get the kind of intimacy necessarily on the couch or in other parts of your house that you can get when you're laying next to each other. There's no pressure to talk, to do anything in particular, to perform. You're just near each other at the end of the day. You're just still in the presence of one another. One of the biggest issues I see with intimacy is proximity. I know that sounds hilarious, but most people don't make any white space for intimacy and they don't have any time where they're just laying down near each other, relaxing, chilling, and having space for connection or the possibility or the opportunity for intimacy. Yes, you have to create opportunities for intimacy. It's not just going to happen. It's not like when you first started dating. As you go on, things evolve and change. And this is extremely important for you to know. Number three, it encourages emotional check-ins. A lot of couples, first thing in the morning, in the evening, in the morning, how'd you sleep? How are you going? All of these different things. What do you got on for today? these tiny little points of connection, these little answers to questions, helps you understand how to support the other person better. But it also reveals more than sometimes a structured check-in can ever reveal, because it's really authentic. It's on the fly. Like, it's just natural, right? These are natural emotional check-ins. When you're not sleeping next to each other, you don't necessarily have these, and so you need to build them in. So let me be clear. I'm not saying you have to sleep next to each other if you can't. I'm saying you just need to find different ways to build these things into your life if you aren't sleeping next to each other, because you do miss these tiny moments of connection. Number 4 is it really supports emotional and co-regulation. So what this means is your nervous system's literally sync, heart rates, breathing, the whole thing, and it actually helps you calm down. A lot of people think sleeping together is like, it doesn't matter, but there's so much happening on a nervous system level that a lot of times couples with struggle with intimacies don't sleep next to each other. Now, that's not to say couples who do sleep next to each other don't struggle too, of course, but they're not used to being next to each other. They're not synced in any way. And so you do need, and there's a whole bunch of exercises, different things you can do to have this. It just looks different, right? And so if you're not sleeping next to each other, it's very important to get educated on what that would look like. Number 5, it's often the only uninterrupted time you get. Emails, kids, phones. When that phone goes on do not disturb or it's turned off, it is completely uninterrupted time. And the things that happen up here for each of you, the mental bandwidth of just like, okay, nothing's going to reach me, no one's going to reach me. It creates like time for connection. You're both in the same rhythm in that moment. It's almost hard to quantify. It's almost hard to say, because each evening will be different. It provides space and opportunity, in essence, in a nutshell, space and opportunity, whether it's to talk, connect, play, be silly, show affection, be intimate. It just provides that. And that's very important. Now, number 6, it increases the chance of spontaneous intimacy. Yes, not just sex, but cuddles, laughing, being silly, saying I love you at 2 a.m., reaching out and holding each other's hand when you have a bad dream, like whatever it might be. It creates opportunity and space for these things. If you are not next to each other, you don't necessarily have these opportunities. And so if you want more affection and that type of thing, sleeping next to each other can be really helpful, because it's something you do that you don't even have to think about, right? It's not like you've got to orchestrate it or anything like that. It's just something that you do and provides that opportunity without having to like schedule it or organize it. It makes a big difference. 7, it sends a symbolic message. So sleeping in the same bed tells your partner you're on the same team. Even if you fought earlier, even if you're still a little mad, you're still getting into the same bed together, and it sends that unconscious message that you're still there, that you're not going anywhere. It's still important. So the next one is it's grounding. After a stressful day, their warmth, their kisses, whatever it might be, can become like a really safe, sacred space for both of you, which kind of goes into my next point, number 9, which is kind of the ritual of you two. Over time, these small habits, the goodnight kiss, moving over in bed for each other, whatever it might be, accommodating each other in some ways, can become sacred. And it's an intimate part. Sex isn't the only intimate part of a relationship, right? Sharing these moments of sleeping in the same room is another intimate element of a relationship that builds in emotional safety as well. Number 10 is a chance to reconnect, even when words fail. Sometimes you don't need to talk. Sometimes you just need to choose to lay next to each other. And it tells the other person without saying anything, you're still there and important. So just to recap for this one, you do not necessarily have to be, I understand that there's some circumstances where you just cannot be in the same room. I really, really do get that. And if that's true for you, then there's just all of these points we've just spoken about is just finding ways to incorporate them into your evening so you still have that connection point. Some couples will go and lay next to the other person, talk, chat, play, be silly for a while, and then go to the other room. Some people will sleep in different rooms from Monday to Friday and the weekend sleep next to each other. There are so many ways to do this. It can look so different for everyone, and it's about finding what works for both of you. It's not a one size fits all, but what it is to keep these points in mind and go, how do we make sure we still have these connection points? How do we make sure it still translates? We still get the good oxytocin and all the things without having to sleep next to each other if you cannot. And the last thing I'll say on this is some couples believe they can't sleep next to each other. And sometimes we just haven't looked further afield, whether it's sleep testing that needs to be done, whether it's certain noise cancelling situations that needs to be looked at, whether it is different types of bed that, you know, you can get the two bed that's together now that doesn't disturb each other's sleep, and different types of mattresses that is together. There are so much tech and different options now that it's not as simple as it once was, where there wasn't any options and you just had to be in a different room. right now there are so many options. And so sometimes I just want to challenge you to look a little further afield, to rethink it, to think, what do we need or how do we make this work for us? Like I said, no two couples are the same, but it is an opportunity for connection. So when people ask me, do we have to share a bed to have a great relationship? You don't have to share a bed to have a great relationship. You can be in separate rooms and have a wonderful relationship, but you do have to have the habits of a couple that do share a bed. And that's what these things are. If you have the habits of laying next to each other before you go to sleep and then moving to the other room, so you have the connection time, you have the downtime, you have the opportunities for spontaneous intimacy, you have different things that you do that regulates your nervous system together as a couple, you have random emotional check-ins so you both feel connected. Like if you have these things, and that's brilliant. I would just say that sleeping next to each other is just it's like low-hanging fruit, right? It's easier to get these things in because they happen almost automatically. When you don't share a room, it just requires a little bit more intention and a little bit more understanding and a little bit more planning of how that's going to look and how you're going to get that in there. So I hope this episode was really, really helpful. Something that I just talk to couples about, comes around all of the time. I thought it's a time I make an episode on this because people do really wonder whether it makes a difference, whether they should or shouldn't be in the same room, all of these things. So I really hope it answers your questions. If you've got more questions, please drop them below. I'm happy to answer them. And again, subscribe, share this with someone that you know would get something from this. It means a lot to me to help get this message out and help as many couples as possible. So thank you so much for listening.